What is up, guys? Scott here, aka CineRam. I'm wearing a hat today as tribute to two of my favorite movie reviewers here on YouTube, PuckBond007 and Forker Ball, who are also guys I'm on the collab channel with, but also because I'm having a bad hair day. I've been letting my hair grow a little bit to avoid paying for a haircut, and so it's a little messy right now, which is why I'm wearing a hat. I wanted to do my top favorite movies of 2014, but I wanted to mention this is probably going to be my last video for a while because since I'm not making that much money right now, I'm going to have to move very soon. I can't afford to live where I'm at, and so I need to find a less expensive place to stay, and I don't know where that is. I'm going to find a place like in a couple weeks, so it's going to be a little bit difficult time for me for the next who knows how long. But I wanted to, make one last video before I go on, semi-hiatus. Also, not a lot's been happening on the collab channel thus far this year. We haven't had any posts, but hopefully we will soon again resume that. I know that collabs aren't that popular anymore. They used to be very popular, and now there just aren't that many of them running. But we still have our channel. The link to it is below. You can watch all the videos. We would do a theme each week on a particular actress or actor or director or genre, what have you. So all those videos are still there if you'd like to watch any of them. I have a few of them on there myself. I joined the collab in 2011. But this channel, of course, I've been on for since about 2008, late 2008, so that would make it about, I want to say 6 years, a little bit over 6 years I've been putting videos on this channel. I've had to cut back on my movie going just for monetary reasons, so I didn't get to see as many films last year as I wanted to. I've caught up with a few recently because I got a gift card for Christmas, so I was able to see movies like Selma and The Imitation Game and a few others like that. And of course the Oscars are going to be on pretty soon, so I wanted to get caught up on some of that stuff. But of course I have my own non-Academy Award affiliated list of the best movies of 2014 of the ones that I did see, and I'd like to share that with you. I have had a lot of trouble actually with this list, not only with the sequence, but just kind of finding enough movies to fill out a top 10. There were many films that I liked, but maybe had an issue or two with that would normally sort of push it out of the list because I might have, at least 10 that I could, recommend unreservedly. But kind of like last year, the situation was that I just saw a lot of movies that I liked, but very few that I really loved, and went, oh, that's definitely going on there. It's been kind of a struggle, but I eventually did come up with a top 10 list. And it's a little hard to put them in order, so the order is maybe not totally strictly from worst to best, but it's more or less like that. A couple of runners-up I wanted to mention. A movie that was recommended to me by a couple of people called Coherence. It was directed by James Ward Burkett, and it didn't make it to theaters here in Chicago, but it's a very, very, very low-budget science fiction mystery type of deal. I don't recognize any of the actors in the movie except for Nicholas Brendon, who was on Buffy the Vampire Slayer. He played Xander, but the rest of the cast is more or less unknown to me. But it was low budget in the sense that they conceived it so the entire movie could be shot basically at one location, which was pretty cool. Then there's Night Moves by Kelly Reichardt, who is the director of Meek's Cutoff, and one of my favorite movies of the last decade, Wendy and Lucy. Dakota Fanning and Jesse Eisenberg and James LeGros. No, sorry, yeah, I think he's in the movie. Who's the Peter Sarsgaard, right, exactly. A drama about a trio of people who are blowing up a dam for political reasons. Then there's The One I Love, which was got a small release as well. Has Mark Duplass and Elizabeth Moss from Mad Men in it. A bit of a science fiction type of mystery as well. A pretty clever movie. And Nightcrawler. Nightcrawler was a movie that I thought was really good, and about halfway through I kind of thought to myself, oh my goodness, this is like a modern day version of There Will Be Blood. The main character, played by Jake Gyllenhaal, is someone who has basically no drive in his life other than to serve his own ambition for professional success. In the case of Daniel Plainview, the Daniel Day-Lewis character in There Will Be Blood, It's Oil, this guy is intent on creating video to sell to news organizations and news channels and make money that way. And he is absolutely relentless and has no sort of moral qualms about anything that he needs to do in order to get ahead there. The movie is directed by Dan Gilroy, who's the brother of Tony Gilroy, who directed Michael Clayton and The Bourne Legacy. So yes, though I like those movies quite a bit, they didn't quite make it onto my top 10 list. And like I said, I had a pretty big struggle coming up with an actual top 10 list because movies kept moving in and out and kept changing the sequence, and so finally I've settled on a sequence. So here's my top 10 of 2014. Number 10 is Wild by Jean-Marc Vallée. This is a movie that I was looking forward to, not only because I'm a longtime Reese Witherspoon fan, but it looked like one of the good ones, actually. She's been in a lot of bad movies. Of course, she's nominated for Best Actress again this year. Probably won't win. It'll probably go to Julianne Moore, but certainly is one of her best performances, and it's a really good film as well. It's very impressionistic, the way it bounces back and forth between the present of this hike she's taking, this 11,000-mile hike she's taking, and her past prior to that, with her husband or ex-husband and some of the misadventures that she's gotten into, as well as when she was younger, living with her single mother, played by Laura Dern, who's also nominated for an Oscar. Yeah, it's a movie that I like quite a bit, even more than Dallas Buyers Club, which is the movie that Jean-Marc Vallée directed last year and that Matthew McConaughey won Best Actor for. Number 9, The Grand Budapest Hotel. I know I said in my last video that I wasn't going to put this on my top 10. Like, no, I watched it again and it's not going in my top 10, but actually there's quite a lot to like about this movie. And also I'm just sort of hurting for spaces as well. Like I said, there's a lot of movies that I liked but didn't love, and Grand Budapest is a movie that I decided early on that I would like when I saw the trailer. It was so much fun. And there's so much to like about this movie, and maybe a little bit that I don't like. But I think that's sort of because maybe I get a little bit weary of Wes Anderson's style over the course of an entire movie. Towards the end it just got a little bit tiring, his very rigid style. And there was a time when I would probably really like that. I would probably, if I watched this, if this movie had come out in the 90s, I wouldn't be like, oh my goodness, Wes Anderson is the next Coen brother or something like that. He's got a unique visual style all of his own, which is very, very specific. It's used a really, really good comic effect in this movie. A couple of guys I listened to on a podcast were very unhappy that Ralph Fiennes was not nominated for Best Actor at the Oscars this year, and I kind of agree with that. I thought he probably should have been nominated as well. But I'm not as concerned with who does and doesn't get nominees as a lot of other people. I figure, you know, if you want to praise an actor, then praise him. Don't wait for the Oscars to do that. Also, you know, with Grand Budapest Hotel, there's like a huge cast. Practically most of the people in the cast who has a speaking part has been in some previous Wes Anderson movie, so it's kind of like a big reunion movie. It's huge. Then there's number 8, and that is Noah by Darren Aronofsky. This is a movie I was really looking forward to seeing at the beginning of the year. I wasn't all that pleased with The Wrestler or Black Swan, and I thought Noah would be like a return to the kind of movies that Aronofsky used to make when he was doing The Fountain, when he was doing Requiem for a Dream. Not precisely the case, but still, it's probably at this point, it might be my favorite Darren Aronofsky movie at this point. It used to be The Fountain, but Noah is something that has a very, very strong emotional impact. Whether or not you believe in the Bible, whether or not you believe that any of the stories, especially the story of Noah and all the animals on the ark, was actually ever possible, because there's a lot of holes that you could poke in that story. It's you know, as the telling of a myth, it's pretty powerful, and there are a number of sequences in there that just really, really, really devastating. Particularly the scene where Russell Crowe visits a camp. That his family basically is separated from the rest of society, the rest of other groups of people, and when he goes to visit one late at night and sees the incredible depths to which mankind has sunk to, and it's desperate to survival, and there's just a number of sequences that just so much about it is just like, you know, really devastating. And maybe some people who hold Requiem for a Dream as like the standard for devastating cinema, that's a tough movie to get through. And this one is, you know, perhaps a lot easier to take by comparison, but there's still a lot of very, very strong passages in this. And overall, I just think it's a really good picture. My number 7 is The Rover, and it's directed by David Michôd, who made a movie called Prophet, which took place in prison. This movie, The Rover, is a post-apocalyptic film with Guy Pearce and Robert Pattinson. Again, it's just it's a fairly simple film, but it's just very, very well done. I really enjoyed it. It involves basically Guy Pearce grabbing Robert Pattinson by force and forcing him to track down these guys who have stolen his car because there's something in his car that he needs. It's a whole sort of like kind of a chase picture. But the funny thing about it is that the main character would ostensibly be the hero, but Guy Pearce's character ends up causing more death than any of the so-called bad guys, so it's a bit of a different kind of situation there. My number 6 picture is August Osage County, which a lot of people will consider last year's movie since it was nominated for a couple of acting awards at last year's Oscars, but it came out in Chicago this year, so I'm putting it on there. And it's the kind of ensemble drama that I'm very, very fond of. You've got Julia Roberts and Meryl Streep. Meryl Streep kills it, again, right from the very beginning. I mean, Meryl Streep has a reputation not only for being a really good actress, but also being a really nice person, a very friendly person. And right from her first scene, she is deeply unpleasant to everyone around her. There's a really big cast in this movie, but the two of them, of course, really stand out as sort of the focus of the strife. There's a lot of other people in it as well, though, that are really good, and just overall, it's a good family drama. My number 5 is Gone Girl by David Fincher. I love David Fincher, of course, and this is a movie that I sort of have to get used to. But after seeing a second time, it's not hard to see just how well made it is. It's just not something that I necessarily connected to as much as his other movies, which is why I wasn't certain whether or not I wanted to really put it high up on the list as well. Yeah, it's certainly, you know, a very impressive film. Just not one of my favorite David Fincher movies. Those like go to the top of my year-end lists. They don't quite make it as high as, they make it a lot higher than 5 is what I'm saying. My number 4 is the Lego Movie. Here I'm getting into really dicey territory as far as the sequence. I love the Lego Movie. It's a really, really fun movie. I'm sure most of you are familiar with it already, but it was really fighting it out over third place with Birdman by Alejandro Inarritu. It's the apparent one-take movie with Michael Keaton, of course, which has got a lot of nominations as well. I mean, it's got a lot of nominations, whereas Lego Movie didn't. It got like 1 nomination. Yeah, that's a very, very impressive feat. And I enjoy movies that involve theater and filmmaking, what have you, the sort of behind-the-arts type of stories. Those are lots of fun. And Birdman has a great cast, and it's just really, really impressive overall. So yeah, it was sort of a struggle to say which one's 3, which one's 4, I don't know, so I just sort of put them in that order. And my number 2 picture is Richard Linklater's Boyhood. There are things that I don't like about the movie, but I can't help but be impressed by just the ambition of the project and the fact that it was actually completed. And that's not reason enough necessarily to rank it really high, but of course, being a longtime Richard Linklater fan, with the before films, with a lot of the films that he's done, Waking Life and Slacker and what have you, it wasn't hard to sort of get on his wavelength, whereas other people might find the lack of plotting to be frustrating. It's you know, the kind of thing that just sort of touches on these semi-important events in a person's life, to watch them grow and watch the passage of time. Literally, in this case, it's you know, quite an experience. And my number 1 movie, as I mentioned in my last video, for the year is Under the Skin by Jonathan Glazer. That's based on a novel in which Scarlett Johansson plays an alien who is driving around Glasgow, picking up solitary men and bringing them back to the house that she's staying, and harvesting their organs or something. It's a very mysterious movie. And there's a lot that's sort of unsaid and a lot of sort of conclusions you have to draw on your own without being told what's happening. But the style of it is very good. The acting is all really good. A lot of it by amateurs, people who've never acted before that just happen to like step into the circle of the production and become a part of it when Scarlett Johansson stops her van and opens the door to get their attention. yeah, it's a movie that I think is really, really great and definitely the best movie of last year. So that's my list, and you've got the link below again to the collab channel that I've been a part of. All those videos are there for you to see anytime. And also there's a link to my Facebook page. Of course, it's a good place to comment and offer feedback. I also just wanted to mention that even if I'm not making new videos, of course, there's plenty to see on my own YouTube channel with the playlist that I've set up. Playlists full of music videos, of movie trailers, of short films, of this, that, the other thing. I've actually got a playlist devoted towards films that have been uploaded in their entirety on YouTube. I call it Cinema Majora. So if you don't feel like downloading anything from Netflix or what have you, you've got a playlist full of feature-length movies right there on YouTube you can watch for free, so please go ahead and take a look at that. Thank you for watching very much. Appreciate it. I hope to see you again soon. Later.